Hey guys, it's Jack here, 24-year-old graphic designer from England. So, on this channel, I present to you a different graphic design orientated book every single week. Now we are on book 7. I'm really pleased with how this is going, so thanks for your continued support. Why am I doing this channel though? What is the point? Well, 1, I want to teach you something about graphic design. 2, I want to motivate you to design. And then 3, I want to inform you about what books you should get your hands on. Today, what book am I reading? I'm reading this one. I'm not reading it to you, I'm just going to present it to you. The Psychology of Graphic Design Pricing by Michael Janda. It is such a good book if you're starting out in graphic design and just want to know how to talk about money. It's weird, you don't really ever get taught how to deal with money in school, how to have money conversations, let alone in graphic design, in the graphic design industry. So I would 1,000,000% recommend this, especially if you are a graphic designer, but to be honest, to anyone. So, who is Michael Janda? Michael Janda is a veteran graphic designer. He's an award-winning creative director, designer, and author. He has worked with some big names such as Disney, Google, and National Geographic. His first book, Burn Your Portfolio, Stuff They Don't Teach You in Design School But Should, is another great read, but I'll save that for another week. So what is this book about then? This book is about how to price as a graphic designer, whether you're a freelancer or in an agency. Now, a lot of the time, whether you're in an agency or as a designer, it's weird. People don't actually have a system for charging. They kind of pluck a number out of the air. And I've certainly been guilty of this in the past. But after reading this book, it's changed everything for me. I've finally got a system to be able to charge people. And to do that, there's 3 different factors involved so that you know how to price. So the 3 different variables of the pricing spectrum are: 1, knowing the cost of producing the work that you do; 2, knowing the market value; and then 3, unearthing the client's budget. This is the hardest one, but we'll get to it. So the first biggest takeaway I've got from this book is about the production cost. So Michael Janda says, you cannot consistently price projects profitably if you don't know your cost to produce the work. I'm going to repeat that, okay? You cannot consistently price your projects profitably if you don't know your cost to produce the work. Wow, that was a mouthful. So, how do you work out your production costs? Michael Janda has an equation that will make your life very simple. It's the hourly burn rate times the production hours, which is obviously an estimate, plus hard costs, so pens, paper, printing, whatever, equals the production cost. The hourly burn rate is what it costs you to be in business. So, in other words, how much you figuratively burn money to be in business. So how do you calculate your hourly burn rate? The easiest way to calculate this is to look at what you estimate to be your annual salary, or what you think you should earn annually, and then divide that by 2080, which is the average number of working hours that people work in a year. So 2080 is 40 hours a week times 52 weeks. By doing this, you can kind of calculate what you think you should earn per hour. So if I was to do this for myself, I think my annual salary should be roughly, at this stage in my career, about £20,000, because I'm just starting out in graphic design. I'm not earning the big bucks yet. 20,000 divided by 2080 is £9.61. So that's my hourly rate that I should charge. So that gives an idea. If I was to do a branding project for someone, and I estimated that it would take about 40 hours, say, with logo and branding and whatever else to make a brand identity, then £9.61, which is my approximate hourly rate, times by 40, the number of hours, divided by 2080 equals, off the top of my head, I think it's £401.61. So that's what I should minimum be charging for a branding project. So there are plenty of other factors that Michael Janda goes into, and I feel like if you really want to get a more accurate way to do pricing, then you should definitely just get the book. But I think looking at your estimated annual salary is a really, really good way to try and work out how much you think you should be charging for your work, depending on your experience and potentially depending on your overhead costs. You know, if you're living at home with your parents still, you're not going to be spending that much on gas and utility bills, say. So, you know, that's something to consider as well. The second biggest takeaway I've got from this book is about market value. The market value of a product or service is equal to the amount that someone is willing to pay for it. No more, no less. So Michael Janda illustrates this point by saying that £2,000 for one client might be an obscene amount, whereas it might be an absolute steal for another client. So, how do you judge the market value? You calculate the return on investment you can offer for clients. So for example, if you've done a marketing campaign for a client and that's increased their annual revenue by whatever, $30,000 or pounds, or wherever you are in the world watching this, hopefully you're in Blighty, then your return on investment is really big. You're offering a big value for that client, and thus you can charge a lot more for the following clients by saying, hey, we just made £30,000 for this client that only paid us £5,000, say. So your return on investment is massive. So you're really showing the value of what you do, and that means that you can charge more for the services because you are showing them facts and figures about the value you provide. If you're like me though, you might not have pulled off a £30,000 marketing campaign. And if that's the case, then how can you calculate the market value in maybe a more, an easier way or more relatable way? You can simply just ask your previous clients or perhaps potential clients what they would charge. What would they charge for a billboard advertising? What would they charge for a brochure? Whatever it is. Now, obviously, you've got to ask in the right manner. You can't just outright ask them. It might be more of a casual setting and you can just talk about that. But I think it's a really, really obvious but not necessarily well-used way just to find out what people are willing to pay for the work that you do. And then you can change your prices accordingly. Another really useful thing is just ask other graphic designers that are in a similar position to you what they charge, and just see, you know, what their take on the market is, depending obviously on the work that they offer. Make sure that it's similar category and they're at a similar stage in terms of experience to what you're at as well.
How do you do?
So point number 3 is the client's budget. So this is really important to understand before doing work for people. When I first started doing graphic design, I was like, oh, I'm sure they'll just pay me some money after I do some work or whatever. Unless you talk about money before doing the work, you probably are going to get mugged off. That's what I found anyway. So Michael Janda states that 9 out of 10 times the budget is set. Your client's budget is set, which means that it doesn't matter the salesman's tactics that you've got up your sleeve. They have that budget and they don't want to go beyond it. So what you need to do is unearth the budget, right? You need to work out what their budget is. And there's a few different ways that Michael Janda says might help with getting there. So how do you unearth the budget then? Firstly, you need to ask loads of questions and take loads of notes. Why? Because 1, you need to know the scope of the project. It's really important to know before committing to a project how much work there is to do. Then 2, it's really important to show interest in the project beyond the money. Otherwise, you just sound like a gold digger. Like if you just go straight in and be like, how much is this job going to cost me? You know, how much am I going to earn from this? Then the client's not going to be at all interested because you're not showing interest in the project. Really important to take loads of notes. You might say something like, okay then, so I feel like I have a full idea of the scope of this project. If you don't mind me asking, how much have you budgeted? And the response will generally be one of 2 things. Michael Janda explains that this is the same in agency and freelance work. Is that 1, they might say, oh well, we're asking around and we're just trying to get an idea of how much we should budget. And then 2, they'll say, well, we want to be below X, we want to be below £1,000, or we want to be below 500 or whatever. So now at this point, you need to put on your best poker face. Why? Because if the client says, oh, we're offering £5,000 for this work, and you're like, yes, get in, come on, I can buy that new car or whatever it is, then they're really going to doubt, one, how into the project you are from anything other than money, and then two, you need to basically show them that you're confident in your own abilities. I mean, clearly, if you're celebrating like that, then you've never been offered that kind of money for that kind of project, and the client's going to doubt working with you. So you can review the price after the meeting and then send them a rough estimate by email. And this is better than doing the final pricing in the conversation in the moment, because you might realize after looking at the scope of the project that actually it's going to be different, and if you go back on your word, it's just going to look really bad. So I recommend after the call, send an estimate by email. So if the client does not divulge the budget, then how do you deal with that? Well, one really good way of doing it is floating the price. So you could say, generally for this kind of project, we offer maybe between, for all the work, 500 to 700. That's a similar kind of project that we offer. But if you do that, then just be wary to read the client's body language when you float that price, because they might very visibly react badly to that. And if that's the case, then you're going to need to think about redoing the pricing. So if you like this video, I would 1,000,000% appreciate if you can subscribe, like this video, comment. I've got this dual camera thing going on, it's pretty sexy. Comment if you like it, write something below. You know, I put these videos out at the moment and it's like, is anyone watching these apart from my mum and my granny? So please do comment and subscribe if you like it. Also, if you want to buy the book, obviously there's a link below. There's also interviews with Michael Janda that he's done. I would really recommend the Logo Geek podcast interview with Paget. If you're as nerdy as I am, you should definitely check that out. I'll put that in the show notes below. And then to finalize the video, to end this video, I would just like to say a massive thanks for everyone watching, and stay tuned for next week's video.